driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Oh, pardon me. Good afternoon, people. Hope everyone is good. Slowly get back on my feet. Yeah, random as ever. I know, erratic as ever. I'm a Spurs supporter. What do you expect? Just like the club in that aspect. I mean, drama, what an understatement lately. And we will see where all that goes. Oh, so you're going to have to put up with my voice at the moment, not 100% on it, recovering from that COVID crap. Thought I just had a cold, whatever. And then within 2 days, it took me off my feet and put me to bed basically for 2 days. And past couple of days, just getting over it and that and out the way. Yeah, first time I think I actually even had that properly. And yeah, that one definitely done me good and proper. But either way, I thought, well, I better do a show this afternoon while I can, because tonight I've got no intentions of doing anything except having a nice herbal tea, chilling back and vegging out and just watching bloody TV. No Spurs shows or nothing, just chilling out. I mean, the drama that is going on at the moment at this place, we all know it just don't stop, does it? Different things here, different things there, from players, manager. Anything is possible at Spurs, and we know that. I mean, but it's like I put on the title, and I just show it again, because for me, this picture just says everything. Within a matter of 90 minutes, that is how you turn a fan base around. But has that turned it round properly? Or has that just turned it round with emotion? Are people genuinely thinking what they're thinking? Or are they still going with emotion? Some people may be coming back to reality. Some people genuinely believe in what they're thinking. It was just another way that I did say before that game that if we win this, this will divide this fan base even more, if that was even possible. And yeah, it's been possible. It's done it. A lot of people changed their ideas. A lot of people not changed their ideas. A lot of people still excited about what we've done. Right, for me, like people say, the league is done and dusted. It's over. It's finished. But so's the cup. I've enjoyed the cup. I'm happy we've won it. I will always be happy we've won it. But it's now done and dusted. It's over. It's like the league. For me, we now have to look ahead for the future here. Where I start with this, it was speaking on Savas earlier, and while I was on the way to get the dog groomed, to get him his cleaning and everything with the wife, just watching it on the phone, and Ian said some stuff on there as well. And then for me, it's going to be purely opinion, but then for me, a few things clicked. This whole thing has actually made sense now to me. People have been asking, I want my old Levy back. People have been saying he's changed. You've got ones like me who turn around and sort of just counter it for the sake of it, in the aspect of, well, if Ange has been that bad but won the cup and deserves another chance, then Levy's got to get credit as well. And has Levy changed? No. What he done was adapt. And this is opinion. This whole thing was a plan. It was a big gamble. And it was a massive gamble. Not for Ange, but for Levy, a massive gamble. But what other option did this man have? Now, I know quite a few people have probably sussed their own opinions out on this as well. So I'm just saying mine. Ange was only there and wasn't sacked for one reason and one reason only. And that was because Ange and Levy had a plan. And it was a gamble. But there was no other real option to do it. So I'm going to say hello to a couple of people first, and then I'm going to go into my opinion on this. And we'll see who agrees and disagrees. It's purely an opinion. But I think if you add a lot of things up together, I think it's going to make a lot of sense. Whether it was the right thing, wrong thing, whatever. But it's going to be purely opinion. And so, Rob Welsh, if you look hard enough, you can see flip-flops everywhere. That is one thing you can definitely see at Spurs at the moment, mate. A lot of flip-flops. Badder, big up, Dan. Hope you're feeling better now. Cheers, mate. We basically have a fragile fan base. That just goes without saying. Fragile is an understatement. Brittle, broken in a lot of ways. Big up to you anyway, mate. And Jimmy, big up, Dan, in chat. Hope you're okay now, mate. Yep, on the way, mate. After a nice veg out tonight and a couple of herbal teas, and a good night's sleep, I'll be back on my feet probably. I mean, getting the dog down and getting him groomed and everything and getting him in and out of the car was a bloody nightmare. But then with a Rottweiler, even as a bloody puppy, that is a bloody big dog that is nearly 5 foot when he stands up, he's not easy. And Mike, big up to you, mate. Big up Dan in the chat. Ange next out the door, please. God, yep, mate. I don't think we got nothing to worry about there. Again, I might be wrong, but Angie's gone. And I will give my reason why I think it is. And Howley, mate. Howley Mud, big up to you too, mate. Big up, Dan. Hope you're good. Dave, how are we doing, fella? I haven't spoken to you for a few days, mate, so I'll give you a call later. And afternoon, Dan, another day of drama. A Spurs fan, despite the season even ending properly. It's who we are, mate, innit? It's who we are. And Tom, afternoon, Dan in chat. Hope all is well. Hope it was good for you too, fella. Rob, big up, Dan in the chat. Is today the day? I think that one we'll see in the next few days. And big up to you anyway, Rob. And big up Leader. Leader, however you say your fucking name, mate. Leader, I'll just call it that. It's easier for me. I usually bite my tongue off saying these things. Chelsea sacked Di Matteo after winning the Champions League in 2012. That is one thing I did say a little while back. That is very true. Hired Benitez and that won him the Europa and then sacked him. So the Mourinho came on and won in the league. Ask Chelsea fans if Di Matteo is a legend. Answer is yes. You know what? If Ange goes now, gets the sack, whatever way it's done, Ange will get remembered for the right things. He will get remembered I mean, he won't come down as a legend on my side, but he will come down as a very important manager who got us something that we desperately needed and got us winning things. Whereas if he stays for another, say, 6 months and everything goes totally tits up, that mud is going to stick on his back as well. But if he was to leave now within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the season starts, people will forget these 22 defeats and they will forget this season, but only remember this season for the sheer fact that he won the cup. And that's how I see that one, because that's how I'll remember it. But if he does stay for another 6 months and it all goes totally wrong, he's also going to be remembered for that and spoke about that we should have got rid of him before the season started. But again, it's all opinion. Spotlight on Spurs. Big up Dan and panel chat. I know what you mean, mate. Hope everyone is well. I haven't flip-flopped. No, you haven't, but quite a few have. Quite a few people have. And I think still people trying to find their honest opinion. But big up to you anyway. And my wife, evening husband, lovely chat. Evening to you. And Spotlight say, yeah, I meant, I know what you meant, fella. And Fifth Elemento, big up Danny Boyd. The football gods listen to us. Ange out. We shall see on that one, mate. So big up to you. And the two Marks, big up to you, Mark. Big up Dan, just in the front door from a weekend in Butlins. Like I see, you messaged me the other day, mate. Butlins is good. And Butlins, you can have a good time there, depending what you're going there for. And I hope your shoulder feels better after what you told me stacking it playing football with your grandkids. Sorry to tell everyone that, but it's one that I just mentioned there. But I hope you're feeling better from it as well. And Bush Ranger, big up to you, mate. Who do you want to come for? Ange, I thought he did very well in Europa League, and it was a bit harsh after focusing solely on that competition. It wasn't exactly the hardest competition to win this year, was it? If we're going to be honest. And I think that even Ryan Mason could have got us at least to the quarterfinals on that one. And yeah, Frankfurt, not an easy game. AZ, we should have been destroying them either. Bodo Glimt, we should be beating that. And Man U was going to be a hard game either way. Even though it's probably one of the worst Man U teams ever, it still was never going to be an easy game. For what he's done during the league, or hasn't done during the league, 9 out of 10 times a manager will get the sack for that. But he did win us the Europa Cup. But this is where I'm going to get to it in a minute. I think there was a deal there. I think there's a plan. Rob Welsh, yes, announced Angie's gone. Sorry, Sorry, just practicing for tomorrow. We shall see. And Spotlight with his flip-flops, big up to you. Again, and Tequila 316. Has Ange Clown gone? Not yet, but I think he is on his way, mate. And the Boomverse, afternoon, and big up Dan, and all big up to you. Let's not get insanely infatuated with Frank without asking all the questions. Totally agree with that one. Now, Phil Coy's, big up to you as well, mate. So I'm going to get into this a little bit then. I mean, you know what? I'll come back to the one with Frank in a minute. What I think has personally happened here is it got to that certain point where I think we could all see and everyone could see that the league was definitely slipping, to say the least. And I'm starting to actually think that by Christmas, January, Ange had blown the season out and said, right, forget the season. And I think Levy had agreed to it. I think them two sat down and had a long chat together, with Levy being Levy, with intention of sacking Ange because he just was not performing in the league for every obvious reason. Because that's how Daniel Levy has always worked. And this is where people have been questioning him. I want my Levy back in that aspect. Why has he changed? What has he done? Why? Well, I think they sat down and they had a chat together and... yeah, slipping, it fell off a cliff. Either way. Yeah, that was probably a better way to put it. Yeah, off a cliff, pushed off the top of the stairs, more like it. And I agree. And they sat down, and I think Levy had intention of saying, right, you're gone. But I think them two had a chat together. And I think Ange put it straight to him that, okay, I get it. The league's done. We ain't getting Champions League with it. I've got the injuries, whatever else, whatever reasons he gives. They had a talk. And they've both come to the idea of, which was the obvious one, of the only way we are getting this Champions League, and Levy needs this Champions League, obviously, well, club needs it, but needs this for the money, for the hotels that need building, to get investment into the club and everything. This Champions League was needed more than ever by Levy this time. And I think Levy has turned around and agreed with Ange basically and said, do you know what? Yeah, the season's done. We ain't getting top 5. I'm not going to sack you if you just focus on that Europa Cup. I don't care about the league. I don't care about the FA Cup. I don't care about the League Cup, even though Ange did get us further in those cups. I just want that Europa Cup because I want that Champions League. That is our get out of free jail card. And that's what it was. And that is why I reckon Levy did not get rid of Ange. There was a deal there. Whether part of the deal was he sacks him or not at the end of the season, I don't know. Even if it's part of the deal that Ange said, if I win it, you don't sack me at the end of the season. We all know what Levy's like. He'll agree to that. And if anyone will do it, he will still sack him here and now if he wants to. And Ange has stuck to his side of the deal. He got us what we wanted. He got us a cup, which Levy it weren't the priority. It got us the Champions League. And a lot of us agreed, even though the cup means a lot to us, but a lot of us agreed that it was the after effects of getting this Europa Cup that was the main issue for Spurs, of what we needed to basically survive, of what we needed not to fall behind. And Levy needed this one more than ever. Usually, obviously, he's just happy with Champions League because it gets him the money. But this one, he needed it for other reasons. He needed it to get the value up in Spurs. On this side, the value is there. The money is coming in. Levy probably doesn't even have to go looking for money anymore on that side where people come to us to do events at our ground, basically, and everything else. Levy doesn't even have to work for that one anymore. It's there on a plate. On the football side, if he wants to bring the valuation of the club up, he has to focus on the football side of it with this as well. But again, I don't think this one was for the football side. It was purely for the valuation overall, because he needs people to invest in this club to get those hotels up and going. But like Ian mentioned, something basically about where we're going to be having games with us at the, what is it, at the Euros or whatever it's going to be. If I remember right from what he said. I might have misunderstood that one. And yeah, he needs people to invest in this club. On that side, it's perfectly fine. He needed that Champions League for the money. He needed that Champions League for the investment. Levy needed this one. But he had to take a gamble and a half. So was it worth, one way or another, it was going to be a gamble because the league was screwed. So Levy knew he had to focus on that Europa Cup and that was our only chance, and so did Ange. So Levy, the decision he had to make was, do I stick with Ange Postecoglou to take me to that Europa Cup? Or do I get rid of him and get in a manager now? If I get rid of him now, that's still 7 million, 6 million, whatever it was. I have to pay him now and then have to pay another manager to get out. Or do I use Ryan Mason and hope he can do it? Or do I go... I mean, where do you get a manager halfway through the season that hasn't even got that has got a job? You have to pay. It's one of the hardest times to do it, unless they obviously haven't got a job. And I think he sat back and Levy's weighed it up and thought, I'm in a bit of a no-win situation here, and I'm going to have to do what Spurs say is the Spurs moral, or saying as such. And that is to dare is to do. And I think that's what Levy had to do. I think Levy was put into such a corner where the only option he basically had was either I rely on Ange to get me that Europa Cup, to get me that Champions League, to get me everything I need, which adds up to valuation, which adds up to investing and everything else. Or do I get rid of him now and try my luck with someone else? And I think Levy had his hard think about it and thought, you know what? He's here. The players know him. He knows the players. Half the fan base is still backing him, even though it was starting to get more and more Ange out. And I think he made his decision. Right, Ange, I'm keeping you till the end of the season. You win me that cup, I keep you to the end of the season, you get your bonus. Whether or not part of the end of it is the deal is that I keep you or sack you, that one I don't know. But personally, I think Ange's gone. I think he's gone. I think the deal was I'm going to keep you to the end of the season then. Because on the other side with Ange as well, Ange needed this as much as Levy to rescue his reputation. Because no one can say his reputation has been good since the first 10 games since it's been at Spurs. And if Ange did not win this for us, for himself even, that's over 22 defeats in a league, 26 odd defeats in a season, screwed up 3 cups when getting to semi-finals and even a final. That wouldn't look very good on Ange either. So at the end of this, I think everybody has basically come out a winner on a big, big gamble that Daniel Levy took. And that is, we have come out with our cup. We have come out in the Champions League. Levy's got his Champions League money. We're in the Champions League. Levy's got the valuation of the club going up because we're in the Champions League, even though we finish 27th, even though we finish 17th. Has more chance of getting it, investing into the club. Got his money. Ange got a cup. Players got a cup. At the end of this, really, everyone has come out a winner on such a terrible season. And that is what I think happened. So one more time, I'll go through it quick as Levy sat back and I think Levy was going to drop him. It was made clear to him and Levy accepted it. We ain't doing the league. We ain't getting Champions League. The only one way we do this is Europa Cup. So he basically sat back and he made the decision to keep Ange. Ange said, I will get you that Europa Cup. I don't care about the league. I don't care about the other cups. I will concentrate 1,000,000% on that Europa Cup. And they shook hands on it. And it worked. It's paid off. Levy took a massive gamble there. But what other options did he really have? The only other option he had was get rid of Ange and tell the next manager who came in, or part-time manager, or whatever else, I just want you to go for that Europa Cup. That is the only other option Levy had to get what he wanted. So he stuck with Ange. And in that aspect, it paid off. So what I think we're going to see now is, now that that point has paid off, I think Levy in the process has already been writing out his plan of what he wants to do. And while that was going on, like Ian was mentioning on Sava's show earlier about how things have been changing in the background in directors of football we've got coming in and business people we've had coming and changing and Donna leaving as well. There's been a big, massive plan behind this that Levy has had the whole time, where a big, massive part of this has relied on probably the biggest gamble he's ever took in football. And that is that Ange can win him that Europa Cup. And he did. And whether the deal with them at the end of it was Ange will stay or Ange will go, I think is irrelevant, because we all know Levy will quite happily just turn around and just say to Ange, you're sacked anyway, if he wants to. He's not exactly one who will stick to his handshake as such. I personally think Ange's gone. He's going to get a good bonus for winning it. He's going to be able to walk away with a bit of pride in the fact that he won us a cup, and he's also going to get remembered in 2 years' time for winning us the cup, not the 22 league defeats and finishing 17th. That is my opinion, and that is what I think happened. Now, if when people on the side want to tell me what they think of the story, that is what I genuinely think has happened. I think Ange's gone, and he's already got plans on who he wanted as his next manager. And I think one of them has already gone out the window. So he's obviously had other plans on who he would look at as well. Glasner would have been my first choice, or Inzaghi, one or the other. Quite happy to have Savvy as well. But then we'll have a talk about Thomas Frank as well, which I don't think is a bad idea. And that all depends also on Levy's plan for the future for the football side for me. So I'm going to say loads of cut of others. And Tequila 316. I'm sure Ange got a nice bonus for winning it. Let's not feel too sorry for him. If he gets canned, he walks away with millions. Exactly. He get his 6 or 7 million payoff plus a 2 million bonus for winning the Europa Cup. I'm sure he's going to leave pretty upset and pissed off, isn't he? I totally agree with you. RBT Secure, why are you taking so long for fuck's sake? Sack him. Yeah, Marius. Big up, Dan. How are you? I'm all right, mate. Back on my feet and that. Hope you're good as well. I mean, I think Ange knew what's going. He knew what's going on. He knows he's off. He's left with a smile on his face. Dropped a hint or two that he wouldn't mind staying if it comes down to it. But I think this was all planned up round about Christmas, and Ange was actually telling the truth in when he said it'd basically blown the league out in Christmas because him and Levy had shook hands to it and agreed that Europa Cup is what we need because Levy wanted that Champions League, come love nor money. He needed it. It all makes perfect sense to me. I don't know what you think on that, but the whole thing I just said there, I think it all adds up and makes sense. And John the Fisherman, has he been sacked yet? Not that I know of, not just yet, but I do believe he's on his way. If he's not, then I've got that bit wrong, and then maybe part of the deal was that Ange stays and Levy sticks to it. But I personally think Ange is done and dusted. I think he's finished. And wise guy, Ange, Ange know he was going. That's why he came with a shit season 3. Yeah. And John saying, morning from Chicago. Oh, Chicago, mate. Nice one. Morning to you too, mate. And Rob also saying to Tequila, apparently he got 2 million bonus for winning the cup. So, yeah, he's going to get a very nicely paid out. Exactly. And he's still got another 2 years of his contract or a year on his contract to pay out, whatever. He's going to walk off with easily 9 million in his back pocket, if not more. And John also saying, I have to tip my hat to Levy. If he sacked Ange, it was a hard call. And Daryl Denton, no one's telling me Levy didn't play Russian roulette last season. No one. 100%. That is what I am basically saying, mate. That is what I am getting to. He did that last season because he had no other option. It wasn't out of choice that Levy played Russian roulette as such. He had no option. The only choice Levy had was, do I keep Ange to do this job for me? Or do I get rid of him and get in whatever manager I can now to do it? Maybe even Levy had already looked about for a manager to do it and just could not find nobody. Who knows? But yeah, Russian roulette last season. Levy to dare is to do whatever way you want to put it. He had to make the gamble of his life last season, but he had no option to do it. The option was, do I keep Ange to do it or do I bring in another manager to do it? He made the decision and it's paid off for everybody. So, yeah, I'm 100%, mate. And Terry Wright, big up, Dan. Big up to you too. And Dan Payton, afternoon, Dan. Finally subscribed to the channel. Thanks a lot, mate. Much appreciated. Keep up the good work and consistency in your views, which always seems to be the same. Thanks a lot, mate. Appreciated. I'm always willing to change my views if someone can give me a decent opinion or a fact. I'm always willing to take in someone's opinion. Just doesn't mean I have to agree with it. But I will change my views and opinions if someone gives me a solid reason to. But it's appreciated, mate. Consistency is one thing I do lack with my channels. I admit that. Very erratic, but it's just the way I do it, mate, in that aspect. But thanks a lot. It's appreciated. Tequila 316 would have loved Glasner. Yes, that would have been my first choice as well, without a doubt. And Daryl Denton, are you being called miserable because I see the bigger picture? From what I've said, I think that is the bigger picture. I think that is the bigger picture of everything. And going ahead of that, now looking at the bigger picture is, for me, that is why I say the cup is done and dusted now. It's done. So we've now got to look and improve for the future. And for me, personally, that is getting a new manager. And yeah, the manager's done fine, whatever, but for winning us the cup, stuck to the deal, whatever, always wins in his second season as well. We've all come out winners on this. But for me, you want to improve, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Even if it comes to a player who's been with you for 8 years solid and then has a crap season and another one, you go and get rid of him and you go and get someone better. You don't go and keep him just out of morals and principles and deserves. That's just not, for me, how it works to get to the top in business, in sport, in stuff like that. Making decisions through morals and emotions is where you can get damaged and screwed over in a big way. And Bush Ranger saying, so Frank has to bring us the title in 2 years or he's a massive fuck up by Levy. No. Is anyone going to be able to bring Spurs a title in 2 years? No. What we need with our next manager to do is bring this team, this club, back to consistency in the league. Start getting us back into decent league position. Also being able to fight for a cup at the same time. Yes, we want to win cups in the process, whatever. But I feel we're at a stage now where we're very low as a team with lack of organisation and everything else. We need to get ourselves back with some stability, in my opinion. Yeah, if someone can come in and then win us the title, fair play. But we also need to be realistic here. And we are not a team, a club that should be accepting finishing with 22 defeats, 17th in the league, and then basically shadowing it over with winning a cup. The only reason we are doing that with the cup is because we are Tottenham Hotspur and hadn't won a cup for 17 years. I don't picture no other team doing that. But if that's how you see it, that's your call. And Terry, I think the club will give him another crack at it next season. I don't, mate. I think he's done personally. But then it also wouldn't surprise me if it's part of the deal and they do. Neither one would surprise me, but I personally think Ange's gone. Ryan, how we doing, fella? Big up, Dan. Hope you're well. Get rid of Ange and the rest of the boardroom. Do you agree, and why? Well, I think I've already said enough on it about it, mate. I don't even need to answer it. I do agree. I think the boardroom's on the way out as well. I do believe we are going to see some big changes. Yeah, you can say there's hope in that. I'm hoping we see some big changes. But I think we will. I can't state none of that for a fact. Nothing of what I've said I can say is for a fact. It is my opinion on what has happened. But I just think a lot of what I said and why I think things have happened makes sense. I'm sure other people can listen to it and come up with a total different story to it. And none of us actually know what happens behind the lines, do we? And Bob saying, Ryan, if you remove the whole board, who runs the club? Yeah, but I think we're going to see a lot of changes in there. I think that there are going to be significant changes behind the scenes. And I do think this might be a season where we do see one or two players come into Spurs that we might actually be surprised that we got them. Yeah, I think we can say there's also a significant amount of hope on that from my side. But I do actually think we are going to see some very un-Tottenham-like things this season, this transfer window and that. Let's just hope I'm right here. And Spurs Kings, after all the hype I've heard about Frank in the last few days, I'm expecting big thing from him. He has to get top 4 and a trophy. Look, let me go into this one then with Frank, yeah? Now, how do I describe this? It's like when you're always looking at a player of the season or goes and wins the cup of the best player in the world at the time, whatever. 9 times out of 10, it's always a midfielder or striker. Defenders or goalkeepers, they never, ever really get the credit they deserve. And the way I'm going with this is obviously managers, clubs that win things, they get credit they deserve. That goes without saying. But then a manager that has done what Thomas Frank has done in bringing Brentford up and then also keeping them up, being the small club that they are for the past, what is it, 4 seasons now? Or is it 5? 4 seasons now, I think it is. And kept them stably up with fuck all money to spend, basically. Losing his best players every season without fail, and still has managed to keep them in a stable place in the Premier League. Surely that deserves some sort of credit, doesn't it? I mean, could Pep do that? We will never know because it won't ever happen. Yeah, great manager. I'm not ever described, but I'm just saying, could Pep Guardiola pull that one off? Who knows? We'd have to see it. But that's just the point I'm making. What he has done is no easy job. And he's managed to pull it off. And when I look at Thomas Frank, I see a lot of similarities to Pochettino when he was at Southampton as such. I think he's a very good coach. Do I think he can take us places? It depends what you want to call by taking us places. But I think he can bring stability to the club. I think he can bring stability to us in the league and bring us to, let's say, a top 7 team on a regular basis and also possibly even get a League Cup in the process. I think he has got the capability to come up a level. And it's one thing we won't know unless he goes to a club like us or a bigger club, whatever else, and does that basically. We won't know. It's like with players. When they come up to a bigger league or whatever, people sit there and say, is he going to be able to handle it in this league? Well, you don't know until it happens. Would Thomas Frank be able to handle it coming up to a bigger club like Spurs and then taking us a step further or two? Has he got it in him? We don't know. Again, only time would tell on that one. But I think he is a very good coach and deserves credit for what he has done at Brentford. But because he hasn't won cups and because he hasn't spent 200 million every week, every year and this and that and everything else, he won't get the same sort of credit that a manager at Liverpool or Man City or Arsenal or Chelsea will get through winning a league, this and this. 2 different things, I know. But still, you've got to give credit where credit is due, as far as I'm concerned. And it is something that deserves credit, but managers never get credit for that. The credit, I suppose you would say they do get for it is getting a chance to go to a bigger club like Spurs, like Poch did, and it worked. Will it work with Thomas Frank if that's who we get? Time will tell. But I think he's a very good coach. And the other thing I think it works with Thomas Frank is if we have this project, whatever, we've had enough of listening to project process bullshit for over a year, 2 years now. But if there is a project and if there is this process that Levy's got and as the director of football is going to have and everything else because Spurs are sticking to this project now, then I think he's a good manager to put in for this project. I think he will get plenty of respect off the players for his coaching abilities, not manager, coaching abilities, like Poch. And I will think he have a much better relationship with the players individually because of his coaching skills and also personal skills. And also better at working with younger players because it does seem to be that this project involves bringing in younger players and evolving them into better players as such. I don't think it would be the worst idea. I do not think he's a bad call. Not my first call. No, I would rather go with Glasner all day long. Like I said, Savia would be another one who I would probably choose over him quite possibly. But another thing Thomas Frank has is 4 years Premier League experience as well. So would I be happy with Thomas Frank over Ange? Yes, I would. Because I think he is a better coach. I mean, I know Sava repeats it enough times and a couple of others do, but it is coaching what we need in that team. And I think that shows a million miles. And I do think Thomas Frank has got the capability to basically do a Poch. And what I mean by the Poch is to go up to the next level. Whether he would get us to a Champions League final or not, or anything like that, total different kettle of fish, total different story. I'm basically saying I think Frank has got what it takes to go to a bigger club and to take himself to the next level and to do respectable at that club as well. He's one I would be willing to take on, and we'd have to see how it goes from there. But that's my opinion on that one. So, is a name, I think the other thing is with it, I think a lot of people are looking at it like, right, we've just won the Europa Cup, we're in the Champions League, we're doing this, the manager's going, they're waiting for the big name manager to come down, like they want a big name player to come down. And he just hasn't got the right name, has he? He hasn't got the right reputation yet, has he? So I think that's why a lot of other people are like, well, I don't want him, and not even giving him a chance. But that's just opinion. Each to their own at the end of the day again. And RVT Secure saying, my number one choice to replace Ange is Frank. If we get Frank, I will be very happy. Again, I agree. I'll be happy with that as well. And I'll give my reasons why now. He's not my first call. As I say, Glasner, I would have all day long over him. But I do think Frank, and if we keep him for, say, 2-3 seasons, would definitely bring stability to this club, would definitely work for the younger players we've got and the players we have got, and has got definitely one thing he has got as well is the capability to play with the cards he has got. He has also shown in games he has the capability to adapt when needed in the middle of the game, also adapt style of play slightly towards the team he is playing at the time instead of just playing one way, basically. Yes, I know we can say Ange adapted and played a total different way for 2 games in the Europa Cup that won us. But I think that also shows that was part of the deal so desperately that he had to do that to get that cup, come love nor money. And Tequila saying, I think Levy also saw it was not the hardest cup to win either. It was a decent bet for him to take. Yeah. I mean, I'm about 15 minutes, 20 minutes behind the people behind you lot on here. So with what I'm saying, it also makes sense, doesn't it? What I've said. I mean, it was a gamble and a half in the aspect of the league was done already. Neither of the other 2 cups we'd have got Europa out of it, but that wouldn't have been good enough. He needed Champions League money. And like I've already said in 1 or 2 shows before this, I think the League Cup or the FA Cup was actually harder to win this season than probably the Europa Cup. That's just my opinion on that one. I might be wrong there, but I do think that the Europa Cup out of the 3 of them was the easier to win. And also it was the one that has the Champions League on the end of it. And like you've just said it, Tequila, I think, I'll repeat it again, I think Levy also saw that it was not the hardest cup to win either. It was a decent bet for him to take. Yeah. And the decision he had to make is, do I keep Ange to do this, or do I drop him now, pay him off, and try and get another manager in the middle of the season, which he quite possibly had a look at and just realised I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to take the gamble, and I'm going to have to go with Ange. Right, Ange, fuck the league. Don't care about the other 2 cups either. If you get them, fair play. If you don't, I couldn't care less. You concentrate 100% on that Europa Cup, and I ain't going to sack you here and now. That is what I think happened. And with what you just said there, it makes it make perfect sense even more, because it wasn't the hardest cup in the world to win, was it? Okay, we could have come up against a couple of different teams that could have made it harder, but literally everyone we played there, when it came from the quarterfinals on, we should have beaten. Frankfurt, okay, not the easiest one, but again, I feel we had a better team than them and should be beating them. And Man U was going to be the hardest game, and to an extent it was. I mean, we didn't even play counter-attacking football. We just put 11 men behind the ball, basically, and managed to squeeze that goal in one way or another, but we won it, and it paid off. So, like you said there, it was a decent bet for him to take. I think it makes everything I said now make sense. I don't know what other people have been saying on channels. Maybe other people have seen it the same way as well. And Ash, I'll just call you Ash, mate. It's easier. Ash, big up to you, mate. Dan, if we give up the league in January, why did he play with our first team against Chelsea and Southampton in April? The manager was lying about giving up the league. No, I don't think he was. Because if you give it up in January, does that mean now through the rest of the entire season that he doesn't play the first team? That wouldn't make no sense either. They've still got to get game time. Players still want game time as well. I think the players, did they know about the plan or not? That would be the question to ask. If everything what I've said was right, let's just take it's facts what I said. Would the players have known about it? Would the players have known that basically we don't care about the cups, we don't care about the league, you got to win that Europa Cup? I think that is a solid question. I mean, because surely they're not stupid. Well, some players goes without saying, but either way, would they have known about it? I don't know. But again, when it was coming to the Europa Cup, we went 2 straight games where we basically played our B team in both games, where a lot of people were disagreeing with it. I said, to me, both those games were irrelevant because the season was done and dusted. I mean, we was like 15th, 16th, whatever, and if we'd have won one of those games, we'd have ended up in 16th. They was irrelevant. It was the Europa Cup final coming up, which was the important game that would have rescued our season, which it did, get us the cup, get us in the Champions League. It got us what we wanted to an extent in getting in the Champions League because the league was done and dusted. But then you have people saying also every game is relevant, every game matters, this and that and everything else as well. I understand that. But for me, the season was done and dusted. I didn't think he'd given it up in January, but the fact that he was staying from then, I thought the season was pretty much done anyway. But the fact that he played 2 B teams basically before the semi-final and the finals shows it all, doesn't it? He saved his best players for that game. That could have backfired as well. But it didn't. It worked in the end, didn't it? It was one thing me and Sava spoke about, me and Stel, me and Alex, Mike, everyone spoke about it. Was it the right thing to do? Was it the wrong thing to do? Every game's relevant. I'm saying the 2 games before were relevant, really, because what mattered would they have had on the end? And it was that Europa Cup game that mattered, and that is what he went for. So, of course, he's going to play first team during the season as well. He's got to. I don't think it was smart that he played Romero and Van der Ven at the same time, and they got injured for it, and that definitely backfired on him. But surely he's still going to play the first time certain games through the season and that. But whenever it came to the cup game, the Europa Cup, that was the one he always focused on, and it makes sense. And the Boomverse agree, a mega ultra hyper gamble that paid off. Cup plus Enoch plus Levy have relieved his 22 losses, manager of his duties with the £7 million payoff. Yep. Phil Coy's big up to you, mate. I'm doing good. Levy must have thought that the players were still playing for Ange at the later stages of the Europa to take that risk to keep him till the end. It paid off. Either way, whether they were playing for Ange or not, I don't think that really matters either. Because at the end of the season, and it's a cup final, a Europa Cup final, and whether the players were playing for what... This is where I think people get a few things muddled up in life as such. There's a lot of things of like, yeah, every game should matter. But the 2 games before the Champions League game, really, they didn't. Not to me. To other people, maybe, but they was irrelevant. They really was. What effect did they really have on the season, or would they have had? Yeah, they was irrelevant. But every game should matter. A lot of things should matter. The example I always give, I should be able to leave my fucking car door open without some little prick coming and nicking it. I can't. You know, it's just, it is what it is. A lot of things, players should be playing for their pride all the time. Players should be playing for the team all their time. But when you've already lost 15, 17 games in the season and the league's already pretty much done and dusted, at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, the players are only human. Yeah, getting paid that much money, they should be giving it their all every game. People paying bloody how much for tickets and everything and that. Too right they should be. But again, should. It doesn't always work the way it should, does it? That's just the way I see it. So when it comes to the cup final, whether the players were playing for the badge, whether they were playing for the Spurs supporters, whether they were playing for Ange, or were the players playing for themselves because they wanted to win a Europa Cup? I could quite easily believe that as well, that they was not playing for Ange one bit and they played for themselves. Any one of it is believable. So whatever reason it was that they played for it and got the result, that's all that matters at the end of the day on that one. So whether Levy thought that the players were still playing for Ange or not, I honestly don't know. Were they still playing for Ange? Do they still want Ange? I suppose only time will tell on that one, or we will never really find out, would we? And Alex Carthy, big up, Dan, big up to you too. Arsenal or Spurs for saying. Well, I will go to those ones as well. I mean, Leroy saying looks like we've offered him a 4-year deal. Arsenal have literally popped in for it as well. But Munich also wanting to get rid of Tell and us wanting Leroy Sane, if I got the names just the wrong way round, sorry. And we've put in a 4-year deal for Sane by the look of it, but Arsenal tipping in to put a bid in as well now. I think he's going to come to England and London, as that's where his family lives, from what I've read. Will he go Arsenal? Will he go Spurs? If he wants more consistency and game time, I think he would end up going to Spurs. Because whether we finished or not is irrelevant in the league now. We're in the Champions League, and that's what matters, and he will get Champions League games. He could say the same with Arsenal, but I think he would definitely consistently get in the Spurs team in the first 11, one of the first picks, whereas with Arsenal, he'd be fighting for a place there 10 times harder as such. And it is one I can definitely see happening. I don't think Munich particularly want to lose him on a free, and also want to get rid of Tell for the money that they can get back off of it to maybe keep Leroy Sane. I don't know. It could go. It could be several ways. You can always add up so many things to it. But I think Leroy Sane, I think he's one that is serious that we can get hold of and would be a very good player to get. Look at the history he's got. International experience. He's won cups and titles left, right, and centre. Played for the biggest teams. Played alongside some of the best players. Would definitely be an improvement on everything we've got there. Pardon me. Would definitely be an improvement on everything we've got there. And to me, it would make sense. Would we pay his 250 or 200? I've heard his wages are anything from 200 to 300,000. So I'm going to say 250 in the middle, yeah? If we wouldn't pay those wages, we'd give him 200,000 and then we'd just pay the rest off in upfront payment, basically, on a signing on fee. It's done as easy as that in that way. I personally think that is how you would bring his wages down, basically. And where we wouldn't be paying for him and he'd be on a freebie, obviously he's going to get a very high. He's going to at least get 10 million to join the club anyway, and then possibly another 5 million to bring his wages down a step or two as well. That is a way that would make sense to me. I think we can get Leroy Sane over Arsenal, as I say, because we can offer him the Champions League same as they can. Okay, they can offer a better title challenge than we can, but I think we can offer him more consistency in the team and an easier place in the team as such. So I think that one will happen. And Spurs socials, what are you saying here? Dan, can I ask, aren't you and Sava pissed off by Estelle and his after all he said last? Look, at the end of the day, what other people want to, I ain't pissed off with nobody. At the end of the day, everyone's allowed their own opinion, can have their own opinion. Whether I agree with it or not is a different story, but I ain't going to be pissed off because someone's got a different opinion. And look, each their own at the end of the day, yeah? But the thing I am going to say on this, and I'm going to defend Estelle half on this, yeah? Now, I don't agree with what he's saying, as in Ange deserves a chance and whatever. But he did stay, and I was on the show live because I also debated with him then. This was about 4 months ago, if I remember right. Or was it even longer than that now? I think it was just after Christmas. So let's say 4 months ago, he did state, clear as day on the show, that if Ange is to go and win that Europa Cup, which he was sure he wouldn't, but if he was to go and win that Europa Cup, that he would change his attitude and say Ange would deserve at least another 10 games or another season at the club to try and get it right in the league. And what he's done, he's stuck by his word. So to an extent, with everything he said about him, you could say some would turn around and you might turn around and say, well, it looks like he's flip-flopped on it. Okay. And I very much still would sit here and big up the way Ange played last season either. So it's not really flip-flopping on his opinion on how Ange has played. But he did state, clear as day, 4 to 5 months ago, that if Ange wins that Europa Cup, I will back off, and he deserves another 10 games to another season to fix what he fucked up in the league, basically. Now, do I agree with that? No. But that is what Stell stated, and he stuck by his word. So really, he hasn't even done hypocrisy, basically, if that's the word you want to put it. He hasn't flip-flopped. He's actually gone and stuck by what he said. So with that one, and each their own on their opinions at the end of the day. So no, I ain't pissed off, and I can't see why Sabah would give a flying fuck either, tell the truth. It's each their own at the end of the day, whatever turned you on. But as all Stell's done, he's actually stick by his word. Now, there's a lot of other people out there who have flip-flopped totally with it and are starting to go back to the other side, this and that. But either way, he has actually just stuck by his word. And I very much, even if I get Stell on here now, that he's going to sit here and praise Ange for how he played in the league last season. But we'll big him up for winning that Europa Cup and say he's going to do what he said and stick by him for 10 games to a season to try and fix the league. That is what he said 4 or 5 months ago. So he's only sticking to it. Dan, what you're saying here, I would be happy with Frank. He can coach. He can develop players. Yes, I believe he can develop the players and have tactical plans. When we have seen him 34 defeats, we have lost 2 seasons. I don't turn up every week to see us lose and not try. Exactly. I mean, in another way as well, giving up on the season, Christmas time, January, and that is pretty disgusting on the fans at the end of the day. But since when did Levy really give a toss about the fans, they say? He wanted one thing. Ange was quite happy to go with it as well, to not lose his job and rescue his career as such to an extent. Spurs got the cup. So many fans willing to put aside the 22 defeats anyway because we won a cup. And the gamble worked out. And Alex, that's how you accumulate deadwood, by not being ruthless and getting rid of poor players. Very much so. Same as managers as well. And Tequila 316, no chance any manager at Spurs gives us the title. What they can do is bring respect back to the club in the league. I want respect, Dan. Why is that too much to ask? I totally agree, and I'm with you there. That is what I want. Some more consistency and respect back. And we are Spurs TV. Big up to you too, mate. Jimmy saying develop transfer Dealup transfer confirmed at Chelsea. Yep, everyone else seems to be already in it. Man U doing exactly what I said they would do as well. I said that this game to Man U, obviously it's going to help them if they win it, the final, and get them in the Champions League. But it won't damage them as much as it'll damage us if we didn't win it. Because Man U, even if they didn't win it, will still go and spend money, get players in, and be able to rebuild. Spurs, if we didn't do it, we would have been absolutely fucked in every which way possible. From money to spend, from what we could attract, from this, from that, from everything. We needed it 10 times more than Man U, even though they had a shocking season as well, without being in the Champions League, whatever, without winning the cup. They will still spend big money. They will still spend big wages. They will still rebuild better than we would. Brian, how we doing, mate? And we need a set-piece coach. Yes, that as well. That is one thing we definitely need, a new coaching staff. And I think that is one thing that Frank would also bring with him. At least a couple of coaches. because that coaching staff we got just really doesn't seem to do the job. And NAP saying, if Levy wants Frank, why didn't he bring him in June 23? Well, that's 2 years ago, mate. That's 2 years. That's another 2 years that he's kept Brentford in the Premier League, isn't it? So, Bush Ranger, nah, we want trophies, especially after tasting it. We've been stable and mid-stable for so many years. All right, I agree with that to an extent. But yes, I want more trophies. I'm happy we want a trophy, but I want stability at the club. I want progress. So yeah, I still want to, but am I going to be happy with, say, the next 3 seasons finishing 15th and winning an FA Cup and a League Cup? No. Yes, I'll be happy we won a cup, but I'm not going to be happy with that finishing 15th. And the other thing you've got to look at as well here is whether people like it or not. For a club itself, finishing in the top 4, top 5, call it top 5 now, basically. Because I think 80% of the time that 5th place is going to be a Champions League place now anyway. Personal opinion. What actually gets a club further in football as a whole? Not history, in football. Finishing 10th in an FA Cup or getting in the Champions League? Getting in the Champions League gets you more players, gets you better option of players, gets you better option of managers, gets you more stability in money, makes you a bigger club. It's another one of those things. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. Difference is here, mate. I want both. I want us to be able to finish in the top 5 and get an FA Cup and get a League Cup. One day go for a Champions League again or whatever. But my point is, I want both. I'm not just going to be happy with one or the other. But we need to get some consistency in there now. But I can also see where you're coming from. If you're satisfied with finishing 10th and 15th and getting FA Cup out of it every 2 seasons, 3 seasons, or a League Cup, I can understand that, but I don't agree with it. And John Cena, they're going to buy more cheap players for Frank if he comes in. I think we're going to see a mixture. I think we'll definitely see our usual Spurs players, but I do think we're going to see 1 or 2 players come in that people might be a bit surprised with. And if we get Leroy Sane, that's going to be one of them. And we are Spurs TV. The dumbest thing a club can do is publicly look for another manager and keep the old one. The old manager, Ange, will know he's almost out the door and will bring in players this summer to hurt. Well, we'll see what happens with the whole thing. I mean, the whole system can work to hurt the club. I get what you mean. It can work in so many ways. I think, personal opinion, I think Ange already knows he's gone and there was a deal there, whatever else and that. But that's just a personal opinion. Time will tell what happens after that. And you're also seeing here, like Ten Hag did last summer with 200 million Man U gave him. Yep, I agree with that as well with what you're saying. I mean, look, what is the point on keeping him and giving him 10 games? What is the point? Seriously, what is the point on bringing him in, keeping him for 10 games? Spending another 100 million and keeping him for 10 games. What is the actual point on it? And if it goes wrong, then it totally screws us up from there. So, honestly, what is the point on it? So, in that aspect, I feel that we're better off going for the new manager, giving him the new money to spend, and take it from there. That is how I would see is the better way to do it, and that is why I say we get rid of him basically, and from there we take it onwards. And Sav saying, "What a ridiculous comment." I take it to the one that I replied to on me or you being pissed off. I presume that's what you mean, that one too. Like I say, I'm about half hour behind everyone. I mean, one thing I definitely learned doing this when you're on your own doing it, keeping up with the bloody chat. And yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. And Tottenham Tom also saying, big up Dan, nothing will change till Levy is gone. Sorry to say, at the end of the day, you're right, mate. The whole club is not going to change until Levy is gone. I agreed with that. I was saying things like Levy has changed his ways this season. And a lot of what I say there is to counter the fact that if Ange deserves a chance, Levy deserves a chance and everything as well. And but Levy did change his ways. But it was because he had to adapt to make that gamble. I think it shows obvious now. And John Cena, if we get Frank, I predict 8th or 10th finish. I think he can get us top 6. Depending on players we buy, I think he can get us top 7 or 6. If we finish 7th and say get to semi-finals of an FA Cup or a final of a League Cup, whatever, and that, I will be satisfied with that season. It's progress in the season, basically. And we will also be fighting in the bloody Champions League as well. So it is not going to be easy. But he's not going to be able to do what Ange was able to do in certain Europa Cup games and basically put a C team out there, let alone a B team, because he's got a hard game coming up next in the league. We're going to be playing the top teams. So we are not going to be able to have that capability to do that. And Bushrange also saying he must get top 4 or a trophy in 2 years minimum. If that's how you see it, fair enough. That's your opinion on that. Each their own, like I've said. Adam Phillip, defensive mids get the least credit. I agree with that one as well. Anyone back from a defensive position basically does. Defensive midfielder, defenders, goalkeepers. And we are Spurs TV. What's ridiculous about a manager knowing he's almost fired and being passive aggressive to hurt the club? Nobody has ever done that to a club or company before in history. Okay. And Mark, afternoon all. Frank has been my number 1 choice since before Ange. Would love to see him at Spurs. Fair enough. Again, if that's how you feel. And Adam Phillip, look at the tune Frank got out of Ericsson. And wise guy and injured, whatever you're saying there, mate. Jimmy also saying, would you have Tony if he comes in, Dan? No, not if I think one about the same one. No, I don't think I would. I mean, going on to players now that we're looking at, I mean, I don't want us to go in with that one. I will be quite happy if, I mean, I know a lot of people are already complaining about that we're looking up at getting, what's his name? Kyle Walker-Peters. Now, you see, with Kyle Walker-Peters, if that's the sort of player we're going for through the whole transfer window, then no, I'm not going to be happy. But if he's part of, say, 5 transfers we make, I won't complain with him because there's a lot that comes with him that fixes a lot of spaces that are going to need to be filled in that club, which aren't just on the football side. He can cover left back, does cover right back. Is he good enough for the first 11? No. But he's good enough for the subs bench. I know we shouldn't be looking at players like that, but it's more what comes with him as well. As long as we go out and then we go and make at least 3 solid buys that walk into that first team, then I won't argue with getting a player like Kyle Walker-Peters as part of the squad, I think would be a better way to put it. But where he also comes in as homegrown and all the other stuff that comes with it, and he's free, it would be understandable why we got him. But if that's the type of player we would be going for say all 5 transfers we make, if it was 5, then no, that's not what I want. But if he's part of 5 transfers we make and at least 3 of them walk into that first team, I'll accept that. I mean, what other sort of players are we going to go for? Other teams already out there going for the players left, right and centre. We can see that. And we always seem to be one of the slowest moving teams out there that come to it. And with what you're saying there, Phil, Dan, do you think Frank could get us top 6 and a trophy? Honest opinion, if we get, say, 3 decent players in there for that first team, I personally think he could have the capability to get us in the top 6 and the League Cup. Will he do it? Different story. Do I think he's got the capability of doing it? Yeah, because like I said, I see similarities to Pochettino with him. And what was Pochettino's name before he came to us? Nothing. Unless he gets the chance to do it, we're never going to know. It might turn up that he comes here and he's worse than bloody Ange. So we don't know. We can't predict the future. But he's going to have to get the chance and before we can basically state on it. But I can also understand, with like my opinion and others, why I would rather go for Glasner personally. And John, what you're saying here, I think Thomas Frank is better than Arteta. Given the resources and the time, I think he can get us over the line. Okay, fair enough. See what I mean? It's just different people, different opinions. Nothing more, nothing less. I mean, look, I'm not going to stay on here much longer because I've got a couple of things to do. My voice is starting to do, and I'm well behind on the chat. I do try and keep up, but reading out doesn't help it either. But I'm willing to stay on another 20 minutes, half hour maybe. And what I'm going to do is pin the message at the top. There you go. There's StreamYard. If anyone wants to come on here and give me opinion on why Frank should not be given the chance as manager and we should keep Ange, or for whatever reason, or why they think Frank will be a good idea or whatever, feel free to do it. I still got about another 20 minutes, half hour to just go on. So feel free with doing it. And JS, why big up to you too. Good to see you on here as always. And Goldenson, we were faves before the cup started. Exactly. It was a gamble he still took, but yeah. What's Morton Barley saying here? I think the dump the league and win the cup was a wonderful escape route for Ange's shortcomings. And if he had lost to United, he'd have never mentioned it, Dan. It was the whole everything that I have said here at the start, going back to it. Does it honestly make sense? Because to me, I think the whole thing just adds up, and everything that Levy didn't do this season makes sense. Everything that Ange managed to do and get away with this season without getting the sack makes sense. It all makes sense now. And Delhi 20, big up to you, big up Dan. Sorry, but we ain't beating PSG in the Super Cup. They're a different class. Yeah, mate, what I say is no shit, Sherlock. You don't have to tell me that one. I mean, who knows at the end of the day what happens in one game, but I think you all know Inter Milan is my second team, and they absolutely ruined us. I don't think I've seen Inter Milan get ruined that bad before. PSG absolutely schooled us. Well, I say us, Inter Milan, like a bunch of kids. They absolutely destroyed it. Wasn't a fun game to watch in any means or manner from Inter Milan being my second team, basically. And so now I think we're just going to have to wait, see what happens with a new manager. If it is a new manager, I think we're going to hear something within the next 10 days. I mean, another thing people will ask with is why has it taken a week or so, whatever, 10 days, whatever, for Levy to start making movements? Well, because also what came with it, I think Levy has done the smarter thing again of basically let Ange enjoy a moment, let the fans enjoy the moment, let the players enjoy the moment, let things calm down, let people have flip-flopped from one side, from it was 80% out to 80% Ange in all of a sudden. Now it's more 50-50 again. And now basically it's at the point where, right, let the shit hit the fan and let's take it from there. That is another reason why I think he might have taken a bit longer on that one. And it seems like the smarter way to do it for me. No, pardon me. And Queen Elly Hoiberg also saying, what are you saying here? Ange needed to get the Champions League football to help him save his job, and it remains to be seen now if winning the Europa League saved his job. It could even be to have saved his job, Ellie. That's what I mean. We don't know what the final handshake was at the end. Was the final handshake of the only reason I'm not sacking you now is because I'm going to give you a chance to win that Europa Cup? Whether you win it or not, I keep you or sack you is going to be what we find out within the next 10 days, I think. Maybe earlier than that. And Ange needed the Europa Cup. You could say it's to rescue his job, but you could say it was to rescue his, I won't necessarily say career, but reputation. And he can walk away if he gets the sack now, he can still walk away and say, I always win in my second season. He can still walk away from Spurs now as more of a hero than staying for another 6 months and getting the sack because he loses another 10 games or whatever. So, again, I've put the link up out there. I'll put it one more time. If anyone wants to jump on and just speak their mind on there quickly, I've got another 15 minutes, so can do that. But Elly, it could be the fact that there's a deal at the end of it that if he got into the Champions League, then it saves his job. But to me, I don't think so. I think Ange's gone. And with a lot of what he's getting said now as well, it's one of those things that you don't see that much smoke without fire. And lo and behold, speaking of devil, how are we?
All right, Dan. I just wanted to pop on without my camera because I'm in my gym jams, so I didn't really want to scare.
That's a lovely picture, by the way.
Yeah, it's like my moody picture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
well, I don't need to know about that side. Go on. We're talking about football, Elly.
Yeah, true. Right. So you know what it is? There's so many conflicting views about what's right for Spurs, isn't there? It's like there's so many you can't even take them all in. But one thing I know is, me personally, I'm Ange out because of what he did in the league. What he did in the cup, he changed his whole philosophy to get himself over the line. So he's doing it to save his job, basically. That's how I see it.
Or his reputation, one or the other.
And his reputation, yeah, of course. But I feel that we need a new philosophy at our club. Somebody who can come in, refresh everything, start from scratch, see who he wants, see who he doesn't want, see who he wants to bring in, and then we go from there. Because there can't be another season where we finish 17th. It's not on. And you see all the top clubs who have won anything in the whole of the Premiership and before the Premiership, they're the ones that are there now. Even Manchester United, Chelsea's, they've all had history. People think Chelsea didn't have a history. Yes, they did. It wasn't as good as it is now, but they always were pretty good in the league. They were pretty good at competing. Manchester United, Liverpool. Now Spurs, we need to keep up with the Joneses, don't we? We need to be up there.
It was the after effects of the the Europa Cup that actually meant more than the cup to an extent to the club. Obviously, to us, it's the cup, but to the club itself and what the club needed, it was the after effects that were more important than that trophy in the cabinet. Wouldn't you agree? I know it shouldn't be like that, but it is.
True. And I just hope Levy does the right thing and actually sacks him, because he did the right thing by keeping him, because if he did the whole U-turn,
just to stop you a sec, Elly. Just to stop you a sec there. Yes. No, with what you just said there. Yeah. That's where. So with everything I've said, I mean, you've been on here from the start and listened to me go on about it for an hour.
Cool.
With basically the story I've given on what I think has happened. Does that all make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. 100%. And what you said about Stell as well. 100%. Even though it gets on Sava's tits, sometimes you have to get on people's tits to say the right thing. I said it in the WhatsApp group as well, right? Because he's calling out people being misery. I don't want to make this about Stell, but
I was going to say this ain't a show about him. Just say your piece and leave it at that.
Yeah,
Go on.
I'm just saying that he's calling people about a misery on a thumbnail. He's not actually saying everybody in our WhatsApp groups is misog, because we're not all misog. We're happy. Everybody I know who I've spoken to in every WhatsApp group, bar a couple, have been really, congratulating Ange that he won the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they've moved on. The people who want Ange out have moved on from that. And they're seeing into the future what they want as personally.
Yeah.
As a club.
And some people have just looked ahead quicker than others. That's all it is. I'm one of the ones that within 2 days, I'd already put the cup aside and was looking ahead. Whereas other people within a week were still living on the cup, basically. Each to their own. Whatever turns you on at the end of the day. People work different, don't they? Yeah, but go on, carry on what you're saying.
I like what you say as well, Dan, because you're true to your word, right? You take all the emotion out of it. because a lot of people are doing it on emotion, whether
I
Ange
think
should
so.
stay. Yeah,
Yeah.
not everybody, but a lot, right? And when I went to that parade, I could hear rumblings of Ange out. I could. Like, there's people that are still doubting him, but the
Hmm.
majority were like euphoric because we've won the cup. And
For the
in that
moment,
moment,
innit?
yeah, in the moment. But afterwards, when they see it in the light of day, if you want to progress as a club, Dan, you have to be up there with the Joneses. You have to be. And
It's
it's
dog eat dog
proven.
world, Elly. Like it
Yeah,
or not.
it's true. You have to be up in the mix. Like Arsenal, right? Where I like bantering Arsenal fans. Don't get me wrong, and
Oh, of course.
I'll give it to them. Right? That's me. Me personally, I had a little bit of banter with Saber on our WhatsApp group about it.
Them pricks can't win nothing, so it don't matter.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? You've got to give it to them. You've got to, right? Because
Exactly. We know
if
they're a
you
bunch
look
of
at it,
wankers anyway, so what's it matter?
yeah, but if you look at it in the whole context of things, they got the Champions League semi-final. They came up against a fantastic side in PSG, got knocked out, right? And then they did second in the league again, right? So they're there in the mix. They're there to hit and strike. Whereas if we keep hands, we're 17th. We've got to go a long way to get up to where Arsenal are. If we keep
Yeah,
hands, if we get someone like Frank or Glasner, I prefer Glasner myself. I really
yes,
do.
yes.
Yeah, because not because he's just won things. I think tactically he's fantastic the way
I
he
think
sets up his
tactically he's
team.
a bit more superior.
Yeah, and
Yes.
he gets a lot out of players.
I think
Yeah,
also with Glasner, I think you've actually got a little bit of a mix of a coach and a manager there. And you
yeah,
don't see many of them. Do you see where I'm coming from?
yeah.
Whereas
I
with
see where you're
Frank,
coming from.
he's a coach, like
Yeah.
Poch. This is why I see similarities to him and Poch. I swear, I've just found out I've got a bit more time now, so I ain't in no
Oh,
rush.
good. Right.
If
So
you ain't,
yeah,
and
I've got lots of time for
whereas
you, Dan.
fine. Whereas with Ange, he's a manager, and then he'll let his coaching staff do all the job for him as such. Whereas
Yeah,
Frank, obviously, he'll have his coaching staff, same as Poch, same as others, but he'll be doing part of the coaching as well, if you get what I'm saying. I mean,
yeah.
you understand football, so you know what I mean.
I
But
do. I get you.
I think Glasner is one. If you get him, you could get the best of both worlds with him. Now, I'm not saying he's a world class, like whatever, but he's one of them ones that I think you get a bit of the best of the both out of him as such.
Yeah, and I noticed that when we played them, I know it was in a way it was end of season game. There's nothing to play for either teams apart from them. They were going in the FA Cup the next week, in that week, sorry, right? And we had the Europa Cup. But I saw how he was so good on the bench, and he was looking at all the statistics. Our bench, they was just sitting on their arse doing nothing, right? And he was looking at all the strategies that he needs to put in place to beat us. And he was talking to all the coaches, all the players behind him, who he's going to bring on and when he's going to bring them on. You could see he was verbally fantastic that day. Yeah,
Mm.
and I just like managers like that who are very active and they care about the
Mm.
coaching part of the game.
I think also a proper coach, which I think Frank is, Thomas Frank, has better relationships, single relationships, whatever way you want to put it, with the players. I mean, whatever relationships they do have, I don't want to know. But what what I'm saying is better relationships with the players as such. Like that's just an opinion. I might be
Yeah,
totally wrong with that. Whereas Ange, I don't necessarily think he's one that has he sort of almost keeps it at arm's distance and keeps it professional.
yeah,
And wouldn't exactly go down the pub with one of them, if you know what I mean. I
yeah.
don't
I
quite know
get
how
that.
to explain it properly,
Yeah,
but I
I
do.
get you.
I mean, so just go. Since got a bit of time then, and you ain't in a rush. So with
Yeah,
everything I said there and went through, does that all make sense to you then? That basically what Ange said is he was actually telling the truth when he turned round and said he blew the season out in Christmas, basically, because him and Levy had actually come to that deal of, well, the league's fucked, basically. You ain't getting top 5. I need that Champions League. We can get that through the Europa Cup. I'll keep you to do that, or I sack you now, basically, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like an ultimatum that he probably gave Ange. He said, look, I'll keep you on. Win us the Europa Cup so we can get Champions League football. Because ultimately...
And let him blow the league out, basically,
Yeah.
and lose another 10, 12 games, whatever he did, and also screw the cups up as well and just focus on that Europa Cup.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, we had no chance against Liverpool, didn't we? Come on. We've never...
Not really, no.
Once in our whole history. Once while I've been alive there. Yeah, when Garth Crooks scored that goal, right? But we were on to a loser there as well. And then to play Aston Villa away the following week when they're like at their height, Aston Villa, they were like bombing it, right? And I knew we were going to lose that game as well. But I get your point. I really do get your point that
it does add up, doesn't it? It does add up.
I know sometimes in our WhatsApp groups, Dan, just before I forget, right, I say I won't give Levy any credit, and you said morally we should do, because
that's just me taking the piss though, Elly, most of the time.
No, I know what you mean, but you're right. You are right, but I just don't want to give him any credit because I don't like the geezer.
At the end of the day, whether you like someone or not, if they get it right, I give credit where it's due. I don't like Levy. I don't want him in. It's just when I saw a lot of people all of a sudden tell me, turn around, and I hear the word Ange deserves 10 years because he won us a cup, to me, I know others don't see it like this, but the way I see it, we're then asking Levy to do what is morally correct for Ange, for the club, whatever, and that, when, as all people have been screaming for 25 years, is for Levy to do what is right for the fucking football. So make your mind up. Do you want him to be morally correct? I mean, Daniel Levy, morally correct, really? Or do you want him to do what is right for the club? And what, in my opinion, by the look of it, yours and others, but others will disagree, is what is right for the club now is thank you, thanks for the cup, mate, but you ain't good enough for what we need to go to the future. Baked potato, see you later. There's another 2.5 million on the 9 million I owe you, and I hope you enjoy your life, and thank you very much. Next.
Yeah. And what I would add to that, Dan, right, because he's the chairman, he's got the power, right? So nobody's going to oust him until he wants to go, right?
Oh, there's only one more person who's got more power than him, and that's Lewis.
Yeah. Right?
And that's it. Levy is the Don, basically, like it or lump it.
He's the Don at the steering the ship, right? So we're not going to oust him, right? So on that premise that you said, right, say we could oust him, right? He would have been gone ages ago, wouldn't he? Because when you think that it took him 7 years.
There was no effort put into it, though. But anyway, go on. Sorry. Go on.
What it is, right? It took 7 years to win his first trophy, and then he went another 17 years to win this trophy. So on that premise, right, he would have gone way before. Right, and he wouldn't have had that chance if we could oust chairmans that easily. But they're rich men, they're billionaires. They hold the keys to the door. We're just like we're the outsiders looking in. We don't know what goes on behind the club scenes as well. Like if he's liked, if he's not liked, we don't know, right? But what we do know is that 2 trophies in 24 seasons that he's been in charge is just not good enough. Right, and that's why I don't want to give him any praise for what he's done now. Like, even
I do understand it.
I just don't want to.
Yeah, that grudge is just too hard, basically.
Yeah, it's too much grudge in my heart that he's not progressed our club. And we're a famous club. We're a big club, right? With all these resources behind us that he's created as well. So we've got to give him kudos for that side. Everybody,
I mean, on that side, who gets a club to the 8th biggest in the fucking world without winning anything for 17 years? This is why when I look on Levy, I try and be... There is 2 sides to it. Whether people like it or not, it's just on the football side, he's fucking useless most of the time. And you can say the decision he made wasn't even for the football side either, but we got a cup out of it as well, sort of thing. The way this has worked out in the end of it, from the way I've put it across, in a way, it has literally worked for everybody. We got a cup out of it, which is what everybody was desperate for. A European Cup at that. Yes, a lot of us not forgiving the season as well, but in 2 years' time, if Ange's gone, whatever, and that, we're not going to remember this year for the 22 defeats. We're going to remember it because we won the Europa Cup. He managed to save his life basically by getting in by Ange either done one of two things, either saved his career, which at Spurs, which I don't think it has, but he either saved his job at Spurs or saved his reputation. Ange can still walk away now, whether he gets the sack or whether he chooses to, and just basically go like that. I always win in my second season and walk, basically.
Yeah.
And Levy can sit there with the biggest grin on his face because he's got that Champions League, because he needs that investment in that club, because we're getting plenty from that side money-wise, but he needs investment for these hotels and everything as well, so needs to bring the football side up higher as well. The whole lot, the whole story, it just adds up now, doesn't it, on why Levy didn't sack him for losing so many games, this and that, stuck with him to the end because that was the gamble he had to take. I mean, do you keep Ange to get that Europa Cup, which, let's be honest, wasn't the hardest cup to win? Or does he get rid of him and try and find a manager at probably the hardest time in the middle of a fucking season to go and do it? And he took his gamble and it has pretty much worked out for everybody.
Yeah, because normally, traditionally, clubs only sack their managers when they're in a relegation battle. But I don't think we were anywhere near. We were 13 points clear, for God's sake, and we were total pants, weren't we? And we still finished 13 points above the third. Is it Ipswich who finished below us? Isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I'm not sure on how many points, but if it wouldn't have been for those three teams being so shit this year, we would have been done.
We would have been done. But I think they knew we had
yes.
more than enough leeway between us and them.
Yes.
And we knew that they were shitter than us. So Levy took a gamble, but it paid off.
That's another bit I can add to the story, what you've said there, that I didn't mention, and is a good point, that when they probably sat there and had their chat, they both sat there and agreed that even if I do blow the league out, basically, and we lose 80% of our games, whatever, and that, we still ain't going down compared to Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester, and basically knew that we were safe as such, if you want to put it like that, in the league. So it all does make sense now that I think Ange is actually telling the truth when he said the league was blown out in January. He's just not mentioning the deal with him and Levy.
Yeah, it's like the biggest masterstroke that Levy's pulled off in a way. I don't want.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
Go on, finish what you're saying. Go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say I do recognise that he did the right thing, but I just think over his tenure he hasn't done the right thing, and that's why in your eyes you should say give him credit, but I just don't want to. I just don't like him. I just don't want to give him any credit.
No, I agree, and I don't like it either, but I will credit someone where credit is due. I do not like Brennan Johnson as a player. I think he is fucking shit. He's got to be the slowest, quickest player I've ever seen. I can't remember who it was who ever first used that comment, but I've stolen it. And he still scored 18 goals and scored in a bloody final, so I will give credit where it's due. But then if we get someone like Leroy Sane coming who'll take his place, see you later, mate, and get to the back. But I will give him credit, because I feel that only Johnson and Bergvall are probably the two players, forget the cup, that can actually walk out of there with any sort of pride of their season as such.
True. And Johnson, do you know what? He's such a weird footballer. Well, I
think he's fucking terrible.
He's a terrible footballer. His technique, the way he receives the ball, his body, his crossing, everything's bad, right? But get him in the box and he's lethal, right?
And if that's what he is, then maybe he is actually better, as a lot of people have said, as maybe that little poacher in the box.
Yeah.
That would work next to a Solanke. You know, like, obviously I'm not going to put him on the same level, but the same sort of idea as an Owen and Heskey.
Yeah. He's just a poacher. He's just a poacher. He'll get in there and he'll score a scrappy goal. He scores a couple of other goals that are not so scrappy, but the majority are tap-ins, aren't they? If we're holding our hands up.
But at the end of the day, as long as it goes in the back of the net, who really gives a shit?
I know. That's what he just baffles me. And like when you said about the slowest, fastest footballer, it's like even Kulu, right? He hasn't got much acceleration, but once he gets going, he's quite fast.
That is the annoying thing with Kulu. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not. The thing is with Kulusevski, he has no acceleration.
No,
yeah?
he hasn't.
When you actually check up on a few of the Spurs things and that, he's actually one of the fastest players over a distance.
Yeah, once
It's
he
just
picks up speed.
Yeah, it's just he's got absolutely no acceleration on him whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like everyone else is already in third gear. He ain't got out of first gear. And the problem is on a football pitch, you don't have that bloody time, do you?
He's not quite with Johnson, Ferrari, is he?
No, with Johnson, he's so quick, but the slowest, quickest player ever, like I said. And I still can't remember who quoted that first, but like I said, I still that one. He can't even beat one out, let alone beat his man sort of thing. You know, he just I think he's fucking awful.
Do you know what it is with him as well, right? Because he's technically not gifted, right? Once he starts running, right, and he picks up his speed, he's got the acceleration, but then because he doesn't know what to do, he's lost. Because he's confidence as well, right? He doesn't know how to beat a man, right? So he sort of stops in his tracks, doesn't he? Right, and then he backtracks and then just passes it backwards, right? The majority of the time he doesn't cross it across the box because he's had one assist all season, I think. One assist for a winger. That is total pants for a winger just to have one assist. Oh, it just baffles me.
He's just a player. He's just a player that I personally don't rate him at all.
I don't rate
and
him.
I think there's a few players there that I think Solanke is very average at best and whatever. And if we are looking at teams like, let's say, put to the standards of PSG of what they did to Inter Milan, what the hell, unless we get some serious improvement in that team up front. And it's not even at the back we need improvement. It's the tactics at the back that we need the improvement.
Yeah.
And
like we did against Man United, we can defend. It shows they can defend. And Danzo, what a defender. I love him.
No, do you know what? Danzo. Exactly. He's an old school centre back. He's not a ball playing defender like Romero or Van der Ven or whatever. He's an old school centre back that whether you're winning 5-0, losing 5-0 or 0-0, he'll still put his heart on the line to stop the goal going in, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. He's like an old school John Terry or a Nesta. He's like an old school player like that. He's just an old school, no nonsense centre back. And I think Danzo for 25 mil, which I think the deal's already done, isn't it? If I remember right.
It's done.
I'm happy with that. For me, I'm happy with that. Brilliant.
I'm happy with it. I love him. And he's got the moves as well, isn't he? You see him dancing.
And he's good in the air.
He's brilliant in the air. He's fantastic at blocking. He's pretty good at bringing the ball out as well. He's not too bad. He's shown that he can bring the ball out as well. Yeah.
But his main thing is no nonsense centre back, solid in the air, respectable enough on the ball sort of thing. I think he's a really good player to have for the team and also can fight to be in that first team. I mean, especially 100%. Depending what formation we'd use with a different manager. That'll all come into it when or if we see a different manager. But that is one of the main problems we definitely have to sort out. It's not even the defenders we have. It's the tactics.
Yeah.
It is down to the tactics. One thing I didn't mention at the start, I stated this clear as day to a lot of people on quite a big show. Like there was about 9 of us on there. That I personally think Ange can win us a cup this season.
Yeah.
And nobody agreed with me on there. And I can understand why. And they asked me, why would you think that? And I go by what I said at the start of the season before. Because his tactics will never work to win a league. Not in a big league like the Premier League, like Serie A, like La Liga, like Bundesliga, whatever,
I agree.
Okay. in the Scottish League with Celtic. Whether it sounds disrespectful or not, me and you could go there and do that. And that's just my opinion on there. It's ranked lower than 40 and lower than the American League for a bloody reason. But with his tactics, you can win a cup. Because you can win a cup with luck and scrimp and scrape your way through it, basically. And that is exactly what we did with that Europa Cup. We had our bit of luck and we also basically scraped our way through that.
Yeah, it's the luck of the draw. Who like
and
Lazio got beat by Bodo, didn't they? Lazio.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And Roma, when they came to our ground, they were pretty good. They got the 2-2 draw. So it's the luck
when
of the
they
draw
was at their
as well.
worst time they've ever been.
Yeah, true. So it's the luck of the draw. Anybody can win a cup competition, but Ange has shown that he can get us over the line. And we've had
I respect him
better
for that.
coaches. We've had better coaches, much better coaches than Ange Postecoglou. And not one of them has got us over the line. Unfortunately, sometimes it is the luck of the draw, right? And we had to play Liverpool in the Champions League final. And what Liverpool brilliant at? Champions League. They've proven it. They've won it 6 times. So we were up against it. And we're playing the team that we hardly ever beat in our whole history.
yeah, along with about another 3 or 4 of them.
I mean, most people lose to Liverpool, don't they? So, it's unfortunate the way that final went as well with Sissoko's handball decision. But these things happen in football. You just got to take it and take the knocks when you have to take the knocks.
Oh, sorry, Elly, you got to love the comment here. Nice one, Terry. I like that one, mate. Brennan Johnson's like a virgin, touches it once and panics, and then blows it in 30 seconds.
You know what? I come from a family of boys, and nothing phases me with these things.
I think that's a fucking excellent comment. Yeah, mate. And then they'd be into it. And then he blows it in 30
Some women get arsey about it, don't they? Some women will go arsey and go,
some people just need a sense of humour in life. But yeah, mate, you're right. Touches it in once and panics and then blows it in 30 seconds, mate. Yeah. Maybe you should have a drink or two before he plays his game. It might help him. But yeah, go back with what you were saying, Elly. Sorry, I just thought that was a good comment.
Yeah, no, I was just saying about anybody can win a cup, and any manager can win a cup, right? You just have to. The luck of the draw as well helps you, because when we beat Man City in that 1981 Cup, we didn't have anybody really tough to beat. So I think Ange has got it to get teams over the line. He's proven it everywhere he's gone, and he's proven it now at Spurs in terms of getting us over the line for the Europa Cup. But he needed the luck of the draw as well, which he did get. Because to play Elfsborg, Bodo Glimt, they've got a little bit of cred, but they're not a top European side, are they, with European history? So Frankfurt have got a bit more about them. They do quite well in the Bundesliga. They've won the Europa Cup
but they still wouldn't get in the top 6 or 7 of the Premier League.
No, they wouldn't be in the top echelons of the European history of the European Cup or the Europa Cup, right? They wouldn't be. So really, we didn't have anybody tough to beat. But Manchester United, they are a juggernaut. And I said this, even though they're shit, they will get themselves over the line.
They still have that DNA. They still, like other big teams do.
And I agree with Saba. They did play better than us on the day, but we did a better sort of game in terms of the defensive side. We were solid as a rock, right? And there are 2 parts. I did say to Saba, there's 2 parts to football. There's the offensive and the defensive, right? And their midfield was better than their midfield. Our defence was better than their defence. The only time they beat us was offensively because they had more chances. But we won it 2-1 in my eyes in terms of the overall picture of the match. Yeah? We weren't the better team, but we defended like solid and our midfield were brilliant.
I mean, I see you say defended like solid. I'd say it was more we defended with our lives. in that aspect.
But
And
we put a
you know
lot of
what? If I'm
blocks
gonna be honest, it was not a good game. You know what?
in. It wasn't a
The
good
sad
game.
thing about winning,
Flipping hell.
the sad thing about that cup for me, don't get me wrong, I was over the moon after about 10 minutes of winning it. Ended up getting pretty pissed while I was on here as well with a bottle of bloody Southern Comfort. felt that for the next day or two. But then I
Yeah,
can't just say it was just me because everyone else was getting pissed up on here as well.
yeah.
And I mean, you give me 3 beers, I'm screwed. I can't handle beer for shit unless it's Budweiser. But for some reason, I could do a litre of Southern Comfort and still walk. As such. Whereas you go give me 3 pints of Stella, I'm on my ass and I ain't getting up. And you know, it's
Okay.
just one of them things.
Yeah,
But the one sad thing about the game for me was at the end of it, due to the way the season had been and everything else, and just being so run down by Spurs themselves,
yeah,
I didn't know how I felt straight away after we won it. And what I mean by that is I didn't know whether I actually felt happy or just relieved that the game was finished to then feel happy, if you get what I mean.
yeah. I get you. I do
I
get
should have
you.
literally been jumping up and down on the spot, screaming there and then.
Yeah,
I
I get.
actually
I
just
get that.
sort of fell off my chair onto my knees and just looked at the floor
Yeah,
like, thank fuck that is over.
I
And then
get
in
that.
about a couple of minutes, then got into the, oh my God, we just won the cup sort of thing.
Yeah,
And if I would have took that back, say 2 years, the whole street would have heard it. But it was just a relief that the game was over because I mean the defending that our defenders put on that. I mean, I think Vicario had a shady game, if you ask me. Great save or two on it that saved our ass, as he always does, but dodgy game. But
yeah,
that off the line by Van der Ven, you can put that up there, in my opinion, with one of the rescues of all rescues,
yeah.
sort of thing.
Brilliant.
You can
Yeah,
put
I
up there.
agree.
You can put that in the
The
top
Hall of
5
Fame.
all-time goal line clearances, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Not just at Spurs, but in
100%.
football. I mean, somebody please go and find me 5 better online clearances than that.
Yeah. Well, with Vicario, right? He did have a dodgy game, but you know when he went for the ball, right? Basuma bumped him, right? Because they were both there, and Basuma bumped him, and then he flapped the ball. He didn't catch the ball, and then it fell to Hoyland, and he headed it, and then Van der Ven, he done that historic goal line clearance, bloody brilliant, right? But
Yeah.
I can blame him for him because what you have to do as a goalie, I mean, you've been in goal as well, right?
That's where I
I've
used
only
to play
played
at
in goal
first.
once when our goalie broke her hand, and I had to go in goal. But you have to be vocal. It's mine, right?
Yeah. You got to have a mouth and half in
Commanding.
there.
That's
You got
what
to
the
let
best
it.
goalies do.
Yep.
Yeah. And because he didn't, I mean, I was looking at his mouth. He didn't say anything, right? And then Basuma bumped him and he flapped at it, right? You've got to be commanding. You've got to be strong in there. You've got to tell your defenders, it's mine. All the best goalies do that.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's very vocal when he's on his line, isn't he?
Yeah. And then as soon as it comes into the box, he shuts up.
Yeah, you've got to be vocal there as well, Vicario. Right? I hope he's listening to this and he's
If
learning.
anything, that's where you got to be most vocal, and that's when you're in your box. You've also
Yeah,
got to let know other defenders what's going on around them who haven't necessarily got eyes in the back of their head, or you got to make it clear. Or I mean, another always good one for a goalkeeper was when you saw someone going for that header, and you was going for the catch sort of thing. You run at him and scream at him as loud as you can to just try and put him off as such. I'm not saying it always worked, but definitely made
yeah,
a few people jump a couple of times when you were screaming at the top of your voice, jumping into him at the same time.
yeah.
You got to be vocal as a
Agree.
goalkeeper, surely.
And also, because our defenders, you've got Van der Ven, who's not particularly brilliant in the air. He's actually rubbish in the air, I would say. He's not part of his strongest part of his game, just put it that way. And then you've got Danso is good, but he doesn't play all the time. He's really, really commanding in the air. Romero, he's 50-50. You don't know, right?
Yeah, if
Yeah, you
in
don't
the
know
air
what you're going
sort
to
of
get.
thing.
But when he's on the other side and he's heading for goal, he's quite commanding. Romero, he can get up like when he got up for
Mm.
that one. He headed down
No,
to
he
Solanke.
can do it, but like you
He can
say, the
do it, but he's
consistency of it is very,
he's
yeah.
inconsistent. Yeah,
And
and
Van
then
der
we've
Ven, he's
got no
what,
one else.
6'4", and he's just, and I'm better in the air than him,
I know.
you
And
know.
what makes
And he,
I know,
go
I
on.
know, I get you. What makes me laugh, right? Poro, they put him on the tallest player. You imagine, right? I'll go back to Dave Mackay days, right? He's like a general in there. They know beforehand. They've done their whole screening of the attackers and who's dangerous in the air. They plan for it, right? And they know who to mark. None of this shit zonal marking. They're marking their man. And if you fucking lose your man, sorry to swear, but if you lose your
It's fine.
man,
That's
right,
fine.
you're going to pay for it, right? We're going to tell you in the dressing room at half time or at
I'm
full
too right.
time that you screwed up, mate.
You might come the way it used to be. You come around and get a punch in the back of the head.
Oh, no.
That's the
You
way it
know,
used to be.
yeah, you have to be like that. You've got to be organised, right? Arsenal, they've got it down to a T. Their set
And
pieces are fantastic. I think they were the best set piece team in the league. And when they defend really well, right? And they're just more commanding than us, and their communication. That's
yeah,
really key when you're
but Elly,
defending.
at the end of the day, they still don't win fuck all, so it don't matter.
Yeah, they didn't
Um,
win. Yeah, they didn't win anything.
and that is one thing we will use. So let me ask you then, yeah. Since we're just having a chat about Spurs and that, yeah. I mean, what's your opinion on Leroy Sane? Us getting hold of him at Spurs? Because I've already seen people already. Oh, he's 29. No, this and that, whatever. For fuck's sake, we're talking about a player that done it at City and been doing it at Munich. And he's 29, which is nowhere near past it. All right, he's if anything, that's more at a peak than anything. And
No,
you know,
I'm on board with it. I'm on board with it. He's going to be straight in there, first 11, right? And imagine all the other players learning from him, from his experiences. He can talk about Champions League, and all the younger players in our squad will look up to him and learn from him, right? So I'm all for it, Dan. He'll be a brilliant acquisition to our club. Brilliant. And he's at
I
his
mean,
peak, like you said.
exactly. You know, I mean, 29 ain't on the way down. I'd say like a player when he's round about, I'd say between 27, 30, I'd say that's when they're going at their peak. Like with a
Yeah,
goalkeeper, I'd say they're usually at their peak when they're 28 onwards, I'd say.
yeah, yeah.
Even into 30 possibly is when the goalkeeper can really, you know, I'd say goalkeeper about 28 onwards is when you really do see the best out of them in general, yeah?
Yeah.
And so you think getting Leroy Sane is a no-brainer, especially
A
on a freebie, for
no-brainer.
fuck's sake.
And also, obviously, the big name that we've been after and we didn't get is Eze, because Ange didn't want him, apparently. We don't know if that's true or not, but probably is, because we never got him. And I think with Thomas Frank, do you know what? I would love that Damsgaard as well. Fantastic. If we don't get Eze, I think what he's done with Damsgaard is unbelievable. That boy, he's played really, really well this season for Brentford, right? I'd love to get him if we can't get hold of Eze because he's got bigger fish to go to, you know, like a Man City comes in for him or a Liverpool even, you know. So that's one boy I'd like to get, and obviously Mbomo as well because he'll be fantastic.
I mean, what's the point, FC? What the fuck are you saying here, mate? Seriously, saying his shit. He's just a gold digger. They're not even fussed if he goes at Bayern. Well, then why are they trying to offer him a new contract then?
That's right.
It's just they can't pay his wages, and they've blatantly said it. Yeah, and with that as well, he's not. This is where I just think some people need to get a hang of it a moment. Yeah,
rein their necks in.
He's not a world class player. No, not for me. He's not, and he never has been. But he's a very good fucking player, and he's been playing at Munich consistently. I think he only had one season where he was injured for a lot of it, or was that even at Man City going on to Munich.
I think it was at Man City going into Munich.
Yeah, I think he's only ever had one severe injury which took him out for significant time. Obviously, he's had one or two knocks in there, but he's been a pretty consistent player at Munich if you get the stats up and everything and that.
Yeah.
And we've got a choice of Johnson, Solanke, Richarlison, and a battered and busted old Son. And you're telling me that Sane ain't good enough to get in there? Come on, mate. Really?
Yeah.
Or out of question then for what's the point? Then would you rather have Tell instead? Because some people are actually saying that we should be going for Tell because he's the younger person and whatever else. Now, this bit quickly, we should try and cite Embuemo. That one I'll have with you. Definitely. 1,000,000%. Yeah. That one, okay, I'll take that one with you. If you give me a choice of one or the other there.
I've got a really funny story about him.
We go for both.
I've got a really funny story to tell you, Dan, and the chat. Right. So that when Brentford beat us 3-2, about 3 seasons ago, I think it was, they beat us 3-2 at White Hart Lane. This French guy, French Spurs supporter, came running down past me. I was right on the corner flag where Embuemo was going to take the corner, and he was giving it to him in French. I don't know what he was saying, but Embuemo just like blanked him, right? Put a cross across, and they scored, right? And then he went and scored 2 goals himself, and he roasted us, literally roasted us. So that bloke got in his head, and he thought, right, I'll pay you back, you little.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I don't see nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Now, because for me, if you're man enough to give it, you're man enough to take it in whatever which way it. And if fans are going to sit there and turn around and rip into a player and slate his family off, or call him a prick or whatever else and everything else, and then he goes and scores the goal and then turns around and just basically gives it that or just tells you to shut up. Sorry, people, but you ain't got no right to get moody and then jump on that pitch because you've been because he's giving you a bit of stick back. Take it. If you're man enough to give it, you're man enough to take it. And again, it's just some people, they can't handle the bit of abuse back, do they? I mean, one that I want us to see us go for, was saying it last season and that. But, I mean, Eze, this is our last chance to get him as far as I'm concerned before a bigger club comes in for him.
I know.
Do you think we should be going for him?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my husband...
I think he's about 26, isn't he?
I think he's 26, but my husband's a big QPR fan, and I used to go to matches and watch Eze. And you know what? When he landed at QPR, a lot of clubs rejected him because he's one of those players. He's like very calm, he's a bit like Berbatov. You know, like when Berbatov received the ball, right? You think, oh, what a lazy sod. He's got this lazy demeanour. You know, he doesn't put himself about. But when it matters, he can turn it on. Right?
Yeah, but Berbatov was a lazy bastard. No 2 ways about it.
Yeah, he had that lazy
He was a lazy bastard.
Yeah, but he'll do one little flick and he'll win you the match. Like
I've not seen many players. Yeah, I have not seen many players in my time, and I'm in my 40s. I've had the blessing of seeing some real world-class players.
Yeah,
not some of the crap that people call world class now, and obviously they're not crap modern day players, but if you want to call some of the world class players now, take them back 25 years and that they wouldn't even lace the boots of someone you call world class. Like someone like some Arsenal. I mean, let's not even go into that properly, but then like Arsenal people who tell me Saka is world class. Figo, Saka, Figo. Yeah, sit down.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is why I struggle with calling players world class, basically, in that aspect. But Eze is definitely one. I think this is our last chance to get him if nobody else goes for him as such. But this is going to be the last chance to get him because they're going to be obviously offering a new contract as well. And if there is a chance to get him, this is going to be the last one. And that would start looking very interesting up front. I mean, we haven't spoke of a striker, but say, for instance, we keep Solanke there. And then on the left, you can have, I mean, if I remember right, Sane plays on left or right, can play on both sides. Eze plays left or central, doesn't he? So say, for instance, we've got Eze, Sane, Maddison, and Solanke there,
You've added so
that
many goals.
that already looks significantly better to me. And I've seen Sane play plenty of times in that, and I think he's bloody good on the ball personally, yeah. And Eze as well, exactly the same. And then from there, I think it is we need to be we need that DM. We need that person who can let the wing backs do what they do, if that's how we would play, and sit back and just cover it as the anchor man, basically. You know, like a Wanyama, whatever sort of thing.
Yeah.
We need that DM desperately. And I think another one we could look at there for this is Paulinho from Munich, because he hasn't really settled down there, has he? I mean, what do you think on that one?
Oh, my God, I've been saying it for yonks. Paulinho. When we got rid of Højbjerg, right, we shipped him off to France. I thought, yeah, go for Paulinho, but he was destined for Bayern Munich. They came in for him, done the deal, he was gone. Now, he's not even getting much of a look in. So I think this is the time to strike and get him, right? And he's another one who's only 29 as well, at his peak. Yeah.
I mean, we've got the young players in there as such.
Premiership proven.
Got middle-aged players in that. We need the experience as well. That's why getting Tell, I think, for me, was just almost a stupid thing to do, because it was not the type of player we needed. We needed someone in there like a Perisic, basically, who's been there, done it, got the storybook and the rest to show for it with a little bit more to give.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it.
Yeah. Like even when we got Bale right back, he contributed 14, 15 goals, I think it was.
Yeah,
right?
14 he scored, I think.
That's what experience gets you, right? Sane's going to be knocking them in, or saying whatever you call him, saying Sane. He's going to be knocking them in, and he's going to be producing as well. I think he scored 13 goals and 5 assists this season, something similar to that. So that's a good return for 30 games in the Bundesliga, where German teams can defend, right? I don't think we've got as many teams in our league that can defend like the German top teams and middle teams. I think they're better at it, and Italy are even better than Germany, right? But I think if we get him and Eze, you've already added potentially 25 to 30 goals to your total. Yeah? That is a big, big reason why you can finish top 4. And even make it, you can easily do it. If you're getting that many goals in the team, right, and then you add another striker to that, which I think we do need another striker, because Richie is not going to cut the mustard. So
just say it.
He's not good enough.
One thing he has got, he's that sort of player that he's just a bastard to play against.
Yeah.
Because he's just, if anything, if I'm going to be honest, he's that sort of player on the pitch that it's like, when I played, I was goalkeeper, and then had my trials and everything and that. And the only thing I got turned down for in my trials for Kent and going further was because back then I wasn't the right size for a goalkeeper. Basically, I wasn't tall enough in that. And the way I used to play was more how you play modern day, was come off my line, because back then it was more a goalkeeper stayed on his line, didn't he?
Yeah.
As such, through the game as such. When you look at like David Seaman and stuff like that, and Peter Schmeichel, who were the goalkeepers of when I was growing up, and then they put me as right back, and I think I lasted about 4 games there before they moved me, because I gave away too many penalties in 4 games.
Yeah, you go.
And then I got put as a DM and absolutely loved it. I was never the most skillful out there. I could pass the ball right. I was bloody quick. But one thing I loved always doing was getting stuck into a game and didn't care. And the bit I'm getting to on like Richarlison, I was always that one who'd be standing there, and you can't get away with it now, but be standing there at say on a corner, for instance. Well, I wasn't the tallest one out of everyone. I had no problem going with the tallest bloke next to me, because I'd always stand in front of him. And then just as the ball's about to be kicked, I'd do one of 2 things. I'd either grab his bollocks or I'd stamp on his foot. And I was a dirty bastard like that. Oh, what, you touching me there? Ball's already gone over, situation's gone, it's out of the problem.
Yeah.
Or I've stamped on his foot and he's jumping up and down and that, 'cause, make sure you get the heel right on the big toe sort of thing. I was a dirty bastard on that pitch. I was a horrible one to play against because
Yeah.
what I didn't necessarily had in skill, I made up for in other ways, and was never scared of getting stuck into a tackle and taking the person out instead of the ball if I had to, sort of thing. And what I'm basically getting at is he's just that annoying prick on that other team that you just don't want to play against because he can be a right pain in the arse. And that's exactly what I was.
Do you reckon we're going to keep Richie, or do you think we're going to offload him?
No, I think he's gone. I think for his own sake, he's got to go as well. And I could honestly see him going Saudi Arabia. I mean, the money's there as well and everything. I could see that happening. I mean, with saying that one as well, what do you think's going to happen with Son?
Yeah, because they've given him another year extension, haven't they?
Yeah, but for what reason? Is that the reason so they can sell him?
Yeah, maybe. Because that way they don't do it on a free, do they? I'm not sure. All I can say, he has to go at some stage. So this is the right time now. I think this is the right time to move him on. Yeah, because we can also. I love Sonny, I do, right? But I have to hold my hands up. Sometimes I protect him a bit too much because I love him so much. But it's not about, like you said, football's not. You can't hold on to players too long, and we do it all the time at Spurs. So this is the time.
We are such an emotional
serious.
bloody club. It's unreal.
We are. We're too emotional, and I've been like probably guilty of some of it, but there's some players where I thought, no, get rid of them because they're not good enough. Sonny's been good enough up to about 3 seasons ago, and then you could see the decline. You can see it, but he does contribute. He contributes, but in sporadic periods of the season, doesn't he? Doesn't do it consistently.
For me, he's always been a patchy goal scorer.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, but he assists a lot of goals. So there is some argument that he should stay as a super sub and come on last 20 minutes.
I wouldn't argue with that.
But it is time. It's time to move him on. We can't hold on.
If we're a big club, it is time to sell him for what we can, like we should have maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, what would we get for him though? That's the problem.
That's a good question. But then if you're going to Saudi Arabia, I could probably go over there and sell. I don't know. You could go over there and sell anything for about 1 million times the price out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he deserves it now. He's won his trophy, man. Like he deserves a big money payoff.
I'm over the moon for Son that he got a trophy. I really am.
Yeah.
In that aspect, and people seem to think I've got an issue with Son. Whatever. No, I've just never rated him as a world-class player, but he was a world-class finisher. But like I said earlier, to me, world-class players are, there's more to it than just one thing. And for me, he just wasn't world-class. No. Very, very good, but he's not Salah. Salah is a world-class player. Son isn't. But Son is a stage lower. He's on his day, he was extremely good. And I would say he was a world-class finisher, one of the best on the planet at one time.
Yeah, the goals he scored. Bloody hell.
Bloody phones. And with that, he was just never a world-class player overall. But I think that it's another one that people would quite happily hang on to him due to sentimental reasons. And that is one thing we do at Spurs too much. I mean, what do you think with that?
Yeah, it's true. Look, Dyer, Davies, so many other players in the past we've kept far too long. But the Dyer and the Davies one was the worst ones because they weren't even performing well for us. And they still got into the team a lot of the time. And Davies, he was always a fill-in player. Dyer was getting under Conte, he was there, wasn't he, Dyer? Right, but I just feel we hold on to players far too long, too bloody emotional. Get rid of them and get better in so we can progress as a club. You know. And I think some of that is down to Levy as well. You know, He should have.
Oh, with Son, yes, because there's a lot of money that comes in off of Son as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
We all know the background money that comes. I mean, bloody hell, when you go to Tottenham and that, you might as well go to bloody South Korea. It's.
I know. When
I probably
match,
didn't mean that as bad as it just sounded.
No,
but I think
but
people
after
get
the
the
match,
picture
it
what
is
I meant.
true. There's lots of South Koreans who follow Son, right? They're not necessarily Spurs
just
fans.
just
but
a
they
few,
love
Elly.
Son.
Just a
Yeah.
few.
Right, and after the match, there's millions of girls, millions. I had this T-shirt on, right, which Talkable Colin gave to me. It said "Son, the Korean Jesus," and they were all stopping me. And they go, "Picture."
Oh, mate.
They wanted to selfie with me because I had "Son, the Korean Jesus" on my T-shirt.
Oh, dear.
But he does bring in a lot of money. So money
and
talks in
shitloads.
business, doesn't it?
Exactly, and that is where it goes back to the point of business again. Like it was like Levy give a shit if we win the Europa Cup or not. Of course he didn't, but he give a shit about us getting in the Champions League from it. Yeah.
And because they've made it easier now to get it because no teams drop down. But even, you know what, even when the teams drop down, usually the teams that were in the Europa won it. Not many teams who dropped down won it. I don't think if I'm right, more teams won it that were in the Europa League originally.
I could go with that because I know Sevilla won it like several times, didn't they? And others did as well. Quite possibly. I don't know for a fact, but I could go with that.
Yeah. Anyway, my daughter's just come home now, so I've got to go, Dan.
Okay,
right?
Lovely to have you on, and hope to do a show with you
again
again soon.
Yeah, darling. You take care, all right?
You too, yeah. Take it easy.
Okay,
take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, lovely to see Elly on, seeing as she doesn't really come on live anymore. I mean, do wind her up no end in WhatsApp a lot of the time, especially with the Levy stuff. I'm guilty with that, along with a couple of others. She does bite at that one. I will give it that. But so what I'll say, thanks for coming on, Elly. Appreciated. And thanks for everyone for watching. Much appreciated. If you agree with my opinion, then fair play. If you don't and you've got a better one, leave a message after on what you think might have been the different idea of what has happened. But that, from what I've said earlier, is what I think actually happened. And Ange was telling the truth when he said he had blown that league out in January or Christmas. So, right, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm going to go veg out now for the rest of the day and night. Going to go have my herbal tea and that later. Give us a quick like and subscribe would be much appreciated. And I hope everyone else has a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night. Take care of yourselves, everyone. See you later.
I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down.